Hey, great day, inspirers. Another day of learning awakes us all. Welcome to Amputate to Elevate Success, the podcast where we ask senior leaders, CEOs, and executives one transformational question. What did you have to amputate in order to elevate to your highest level of success? I'm your host, John Register, from the U.S. Army to the Olympic trials to becoming a two-time Paralympian and silver medalist. I've learned this truth the hard way. We don't overcome adversity. We adapt through it. That's why I created this podcast to help leaders who are navigating high-stakes transitions lead with clarity, courage, and elevated communication. This show is part of the Elevate Life Executive Series on Beehive, where we equip decision makers, just like you, with the mindset, the strategies, and the storytelling tools to communicate through change and come out stronger on the other side. If you find value in today's conversation, don't forget to like, to share, and to follow so more leaders can learn how to amputate what no longer serves them and elevate toward purpose. Today's guest is a powerhouse. Sonia Dumas is a high-level strategist, speaker, and entrepreneur who's built her career helping professionals and companies unlock new revenue by rethinking how they build trust and value in the digital age. From brand positioning to digital finance innovation, Sonia knows what it takes to shift from outdated models to future-focused impact. So whether she's guiding elite leaders through financial transformation or helping businesses reimagine how they serve their market, Sonia brings that rare mix of sharp intelligence and soulful wisdom. And trust me, when she speaks, the room listens. So grab your notebook and prepare to elevate your thinking. We'll get started right after this. Sonia Dumas, I can't believe it. She is in my green room. Holy cow. We've got her from the green room on the stage. That the vision's right there. Welcome.
John, it is so incredible to be here. Thank you for that intro. I love it.
I like doing those, and just because that's my media background stuff that I just kind of put those together just to honor the guests, right? So let's just jump in. We met a few about a year ago, I think. It was coming up on a year.
Coming up on a year.
It just shifted and changed my world, rocked it. They say you rocked my world, girl. You've had so much success, but what have you had to amputate in order to elevate to that success?
Oh, you have made me think about that. I've been marinating, simmering on it for a while now. And the word that came to mind for me was overwhelm. Had to amputate overwhelm. And I've had experience with it, growing teams in the past, but now more than ever, it's come up again. And I think that word can't be underestimated, because what do you do with it? So overwhelm, mind if I tell a story about how I see overwhelm?
Absolutely. We'll love it.
All right. So back in, so many of you may or may not know, my background is actually hotel development, luxury lifestyle boutique. So high intensity, big teams, big budgets, multiple personalities, all the things. I'm a professional cat herderer, but these cats are in the best Italian handcrafted suits. And but that was my world for almost 20 years. And every so often, when I started very early on, I had a team and I would hear them talk about being overwhelmed. And usually, and when you're not, and it was my first time being a manager. And so I just thought it was like, well, okay, let's have a conversation. Let's talk about this, right? So trying to approach it from look, the volume of work that happens when you're building a hotel, it doesn't stop. Like the fire hose is turned on and it's not being turned off. There's no way to stop it. So what needs to actually happen? And what I found over time is it wasn't enough to just talk to people to say, okay, let's, have our powwow moment. What I realized is overwhelm is not really about the workload. It's not about the volume of work that's coming at you. It was actually an issue of no clarity about what's the destination? Where are we heading with all of this? And there was also no milestones to be able to say we made it to the next milestone as we move to this destination. And the destination when it comes to hotels is very simple. You open, you get to opening date. So no one's confused about what the destination is. So we know we had to open, but how do you get to open? Well, there are hundreds of thousands of microtransactions that happen in order to get to open, for everything from construction to purchasing to design to architecture to everything you got to do, sign off with the city. So many micro things that had to be done. And what I found that my team, for what we did with branding and strategy and procurement, is I had to show them, because I was the leader, I knew that there were milestones along the way that also included rest periods. I knew that there were 12 weeks of intense purchasing, branding, designing. But once the PO was released, once the money was paid, guess what? It gets quiet because everything's in production now. So you get a rest period. And that gave my team a sense of, let's sprint to the next milestone, because once again, the workload's not shifting. The volume of work that's coming at you is actually going to increase. But when you understand there's milestones along the way, and when you celebrate those milestones along the way and show them that, guess what, when we get to opening and the client loves what we have done, we're going to do this again because they're going to award us 5 more hotel projects. 5 more projects. Like, well, what's the good part? I said, you haven't been to an opening party yet. When you get to an opening party and you have your caviar tacos with truffle oil all over it, you will understand, yes, this was worth it.
Ladies and gentlemen, see, that's brilliant. But so we're not talking about opening up like a low-tier hotel. They're not serving caviar. So let's get that clear right now. We're talking about luxury brand hotels. That's what we're talking about. Some destinations that you would want to go to. So lots of micro things along the way. I love what you said about that. And as I was kind of writing here, they know the destination already.
Yeah.
They know it. But how can we as leaders find those rest periods?
Yes.
And what was registering for me is in athletics, in training at the highest level for Olympic sport or Paralympic sport, you have to build in recovery. Recovery is more important than the actual work that you do. Because if you don't recover, you can't work at the optimum. You can't train at the optimum. Right. It's the same thing in the military. When we come back from theater, we recover our equipment, and then we go on break. We go on 30 days leave so that people can get back with their families and just not even have to think about what they just had been through. So because the next op tempo is going to be a little bit higher, and you have to be ready to move forward with that. Yeah. Now, how have you found that, Sonia, when you are seeing that, and but from your team, how did you recognize that within inside of yourself with the overwhelm?
Yes, so I've been a strategic thinker since a child, right? For those of you who don't know, I have 4 brothers, and my first business was selling them their own toys. I figured this out by 9. And they bought. It was the best business I ever had. And so one of the things is with me is when I entered my career, I was literally thrown. So I remember my director was my director for about 6 weeks before she went to an offsite. And she was like, I'm going to train you on everything I need you to do. And then you're off on your own. So I had like 6 weeks of management. And mind you, at the time I was, I think I was like 22, 23. And it was like, all right, you're off on your own. And here's 5 local hotels. What? Okay. First step, let me go talk to the GMs. Built a relationship, found out what they needed. And over time, what I found out was, why am I feeling overwhelmed? So I'm good about checking in with myself. I feel overwhelmed. I'm stressed. I'm working late hours. No one's asking me to, but I am. And I have this fear that if something doesn't get done, the ball's going to get dropped and I'm going to get yelled at. And, and so that's what was going through my, 20 something mind. And at some point I realized I'm overwhelmed because I have a lot of tasks to do. And I'm fearful I am going to forget one of those tasks that's very important to the entire process. So at that time, This was early 2000s, y'all. Like the technology we have now compared to then, my word. I literally found a like $79 software that was like a note taking and recording, and it could do auto date pop-ups and reminders. That was genius back then. And I had to ask, can I spend $79? And the VP was like, yeah, go for it. And I used that to track all my tasks, to pop up the dates when I needed to follow up. And all of a sudden, I felt a sense of calm because I knew I wasn't going to forget anything, even though my mind was sharp. So it freed my mind to then start thinking about the bigger picture of what this GM wanted or what the hotel needed. And so at some point, what interestingly happened was my desk became empty, because everything was in a central location, and I could go to that little $79 software, see where everything was at, and make the updates. And I mean, I was literally like, double typing, right? Like writing to myself exactly what I did. But anytime my VP would ask, well, what's going on with this? Boop, pull up the little screen. Here's what's going on. What do you need next? Like, oh my goodness, what is this thing? I said, this is my overwhelm decreaser eliminator.
For $79.
For $79 back then. I was like, best investment ever. And so it was realizing that overwhelm is a part of fearing you're going to miss something, especially something critically important. So how do we keep track of that? But then also it was recognizing, okay, I can have multiple projects, but what are we doing? Where are we going? What are the milestones? And at that time, because I literally had no real direction, it was more like, I'd go to my director and VP just to sign off on an expense report. Like, like that was it. And so what I also recognized at the time, where was I going with that thought? Was that not only was it about tracking, I had to create my own milestones, because there was no one to create it for me. And so I had to check in with like the GM and say, what would be a major win as we move along, or even a micro win? And they'd let me know. And so I would set that up as, okay, that's the next milestone. Okay, now that we got that done, what's the next milestone? And because a hotel, especially these hotels, they were already open and operational. Operations goes 24/7. It doesn't stop. So then I started learning about the operations of, okay, now there are quarterly goals, there are yearly goals, and started working through that to say, where do I play a role in this? And so it was always asking questions more so than what's the next quarter, what's the next big goal? And so we would work towards that. So I learned really early on to piecemeal that, and that would give me the sense of calm and focus I need. So that way, when other projects would come along, insert them right into the system. Because I had one, but I had to create it based on, I need to chill out. So I need to chill out because I'm too young to be stressed.
We are talking with the one and only Sonia Dumas right now, and just laying down some wonderful groundwork for us as we get into this conversation today. One of the things that came up is I have a list of questions, but I rarely go there because I guess like you, I have other questions that just come up for me. And the first one is, what did you find that surprised you in that amputation of the overwhelm? So you began to have all these other things that opened up. You found this notebook. And now your desk is clear, so that kind of is like, I don't have a desk now. That's flooded with all this stuff. You can respond to things to your CEO, to your boss faster. What else was there that really surprised you because you were no longer overwhelmed and you were managing the process?
Well, one, how much I enjoyed what I was doing, like the joy of designing and branding. And, there were times where I was out of the office for like 5 hours, and this went on for several weeks. And then one day my VP came to me and was like, so where do you go? Where are you? Because you disappeared for 5 hours. Once again, I pull up my notes. So here's what I'm doing. Oh, okay, you're good. And mind you, all the other 23-year-olds in the office, they were stuck at the desk. They were admins and coordinators. And technically my title at the time was coordinator, but I wasn't acting like a coordinator because I was able to remove overwhelm. I was acting very early as a director. I was acting as a leader because I was self-leading in a very structured way. So then all of a sudden you add in, hey, can you train this person to do what you're doing? Well, I'm already in that. Yeah, I can train them on this system. I can train them at least how to think. And so And it was really a lot of training on how to think and not just do. So
Right.
that's, so talk about being shocked. I was shocked at how many of my colleagues at the time, and the ages ranged, but anyone who was pretty much below manager or below, like coordinator manager, there was a lot of doing, not a lot of thinking. And, and I thought, wow, why not go deeper? Oh no, I did my task, right? I filled out the report. I pushed it through the system, whatever it was. And I found that fascinating. I also found fascinating the gossiping that went on because all of a sudden it's like, well, I actually had a manager from another department come and said, your desk is empty. Do you have anything to do? I said, everything is already being done. What do you mean anything to do? It was because they were used to chaos and they hadn't learned to manage overwhelm. So the idea was that if you have a stack of folders on your desk, you must be in the zone. I said, no, if you have a stack of folders on your desk, that tells me you're disorganized. You don't know what's going on. You are flying through paper.
I got my head down right now. I'm not gonna turn my camera around right now.
I already know. But it's okay. When everything gets synchronized, then it's like, yeah, let's pull up my $79 screen and let's look at everything. And it's like, oh, all right. I said, look, I'm willing to teach. And so you have to also just recognize how people will react. I mean, we kind of live in a, remote hybrid world. So it's hard to see that as much in office settings. But just recognize that I was having a great conversation with a friend and they said, there's a difference between being efficient and being effective. And being efficient may not be effective. And I was looking for effective. And so, me rewrite, like if I send an email, then I would write a summary of what that email was. Like, this is pre-AI, y'all. So me writing in my notes, basically doing double note taking. Was that efficient? No, but it was certainly effective in managing the project based on what I had available to me at the time. And so sometimes it's that, slow down to speed up, because I slowed down after sending an email to take another 2 minutes to write a mini summary for myself on what that email was about. So that way anyone who could check on my work could see, oh, this is where it was left, where the conversation left off. I said, yeah, that made me very effective. And I look at, I look at where, AI and technology is heading. I feel like it's balancing both now, where you could be efficient and effective at the same time, where sometimes you had to choose one or the other. And I think now we can actually choose both.
When you look at, and kind of getting into the AI discussion, you're able, what I have found, to zig while others zag.
Mm-hmm.
You build reputation on seeing market shifts before they become trends. And what's your internal process? You've gone from a $79, let me just manage my day and 5 other projects.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have a world that really can manage most of our, not just tasks, but think a little bit strategically for us.
Mm-hmm.
And get us to see the trends long before that we might be able to just even think that might be a trend that's coming.
Mm-hmm.
How do you begin to use those tools for yourself, and then help other people, as you were saying, like, I could teach, help other people discover that?
Yeah, so my internal process of seeing, I look at it as, if it's a trend, many already know about it. It's more, I spent a lot of time, a lot of my life in Hermosa Beach, right on the coast. And I do not surf, but I watch the surfers. And anyone who's, pro surfers who've been doing it for years, they can see the signals of a big wave coming, in ways that by the time the wave forms, the newbies, the ones who are just looking for all the signals that says, hey, I'm a wave, you should ride me, right? They only know it when they see it, when they see the wave. So it's like, I look at it as, if you're saying, oh, like, yeah, I'm following this new trend. Well, the wave is already formed and it's already being surfed. It's, how do you start surfing waves that are so far out there, but the seasoned ones can see it? And there's conditions, and they see something happen in the ocean. There's all kinds of like little signals that go off. And so how do we apply this to business? Well, I always start with the core of business. And, when you're looking at any particular company, what's your vision? What's your strategy? Let's go back to that and recognizing, here's what my vision is. If your vision is you want to be a market leader in a micro niche, and you only want to be known for solving a very specific high precision problem, if that's the vision and you only want to be known for that, right? Like that's your mark, then that's the vision. That's the strategy to work behind to that. So now I'm looking in the market for signals that says, how do we elevate you in the micro market? How do we give you extra intel in that micro market? So we're relating it back. It's not so much what's the latest and newest and greatest, is how does this connect to the vision and the strategy that's going to have the vision happen? Mm-hmm. And it's very much customized and unique. If you truly want to dominate your market, it's customized and unique to your business and your company and your team. It's not, you can't really go to your colleagues and say, hey, what do you think? And what do you think? They may not have the same vision as you. So when I understand that, when I understand what's the vision of this company, what's our strategy? Okay, now let's go out into the market, and what are the early signals that can position and elevate you faster related to those visions, that vision and that strategy. And so that's how I approach it. I'm not necessarily a futurist of the global movements, although, those are out there too. I'm actually a futurist of the micro movements based on your goals, your vision, your strategy. And that level of fine tuning requires me to be sensitive, actually makes me more sensitive to the true signals versus the noise. It's very easy to filter out the noise and look at, these little micro signals. I love this. And that's what I love about AI. Like if you're using it well, you're actually listening for the micro signals more so than the big signals. The big signals, the wave has already been formed. Everybody's now scrambling to ride it. No, I want to see that. Oh no, look at the birds. They just turned direction. I want that way out there. Look, even the sharks are parting ways. Like okay. Right? Sharks and birds have made moves. It's time to ride this wave. What wave? Don't worry about it. You'll catch it. When you see me riding it, you'll know.
That's such a great analogy because when you say the sharks start parting ways and the birds start moving and everybody can see, a few people can see that, and the wave is coming, and no one can see that wave coming. There's also another one that's behind that one.
Yeah.
Right. So you get to shore, you go back out again. You can see further down. And one of the things that's impressed me about you is you're also very fast. You see the wave, and then you're quick to jump on it without anybody else seeing it. And I think I just wrote in a post on LinkedIn I said Sonia is a person who goes very quickly, and she doesn't wait for years to strategize, months to strategize, or even hours or days to strategize. He does this in minutes with a full staff team, and dare I say seconds. When you see that, you have a unique way of building out the program or the widget, staffing it, and then putting it into full production very quickly. I mean, my head spins sometimes when you tell me that you have this thought and this idea, and all of a sudden, that's on Saturday, on Sunday, yeah, are you ready to buy? What? I'm eating my, eggs and bacon in the morning time, and your head down, and it's a product.
Yeah.
Talk about being quick to the market, what that means for us as business leaders, and how are you using the advisory intelligence, as your words, to help you get it there faster than anybody else that can't even see the wave coming.
Ooh, yes. So, that's a loaded one. how do I move quickly? Well, it starts with, as leaders, we always have to be listening. My ears are always listening to the everyday. I'm overwhelmed. We don't know what to do. We're going back to the drawing board, always listening and not reacting to it, because too many times we hear information and we feel like we need to do something with it. No, just take it in. Okay. I'm hearing this a lot. Okay. What's going on? What's happening with our market? What's our client saying? What's the market saying? And just taking it all in and going back to understanding, okay, for this micro market, what's important to them? I already know this information. So it's not like, especially as senior leaders, we know a lot, right, about our clientele and our markets and things and the behaviors that they do and what they're going through and thinking internally. So then it becomes, I act as a connector. Here's a problem over here. Here's part of the solution I know I already have, but now there's this interesting little twist. We need to add this interesting extra element. And once we add that element, everything links in and you can move faster. It's like, plugging, it's a cord into a socket. Like, we got the cord, there's a socket, plug it in. One way to think about this is, when you think about opening a hotel, do you need mattresses when you open a hotel? I'm just throwing that out there.
Oh, you're asking me?
Yes. Do you need mattresses when you open a hotel?
If you're going to have somebody sleeping, if someone's going to be on a bed,
right?
I think you would need a mattress.
so there is under no circumstances a chance where you'd open a hotel without a mattress, right?
That is correct.
Right. So you already know we need mattresses. So that is set. We need a mattress. The issue becomes Sealy, Serta, or Simmons. Which one do you want? And so now it's, how do we deliver this product that is absolutely essential? So as leaders, we're not creating something that, it might be nice to have a mattress at a hotel. No. You already know you're going to spend money on a mattress. Like, if that's not in the budget, and I've actually had hotels not have the mattress in the budget. I'm like, what? Where are people sleeping, y'all? Oh my gosh. And that could be anywhere from $3 to $1 million worth of mattresses, y'all. Sealy, Serta, and Simmons are living good lives. I'm just telling you. But so we know that product is essential to the guest experience. So as business leaders, there are products and services that are essential to business, but it comes down to it comes down to the experience. It comes down to how do we solve that problem? And so I'm able to move fast because I'm not sitting up here asking, do we need a mattress? I'm like, we need a mattress, which is the best one that's going to have guests giving us 5-star reviews on how great the mattress was. Right. So now that's what I'm thinking. So it's like, who can give us the best mattress? That one, boom, go. Right. It's not like, why are we having 6 months conversations on which one are we going to buy? And so if you know that you're having leadership issues, it's no question you're going to spend money with someone on some offer to fix your leadership issues. The question becomes, who can do it the best? It's the most effective, not necessarily the fastest. Who can do it the most effective for your market, for your specific peculiarities, whatever that may be, for your specific culture. And once you identify it, it's a quick go. So that's how I'm able to approach really any issue, because I also know my market. I'm not worried about, the fitness folks, right? Like, look, I'm not selling pre-workout powder. So whatever happens in the market around pre-workout powder, that's noise. I don't need to remember that. But because I know my micro market, I am always listening and saying, oh, they're going to need that, or they're missing that. They're missing intelligence. So looping in AI, doesn't matter what your size of business is. The name of the game is really real-time intelligence, but not just general intelligence, micro shifts, micro signals, going back to our surfer analogy, right? Like, okay, the birds have shifted, the wind has shifted, the water has shifted. And it's being able to, think of I look at like Apple, for instance. They're able to, especially with where AI is going, they can have AI give them early signals about metals, at the manufacturing or at the mining level to say, hey, there's been a shift in production for this metal that's essential for the iPhone, and be able to backtrack and say, ooh, what's that going to do, right? Whether that metal is becoming rarer and the price is going to go up, whether there's an oversupply, and so they can actually increase, they can create more production at lower prices, all the way down to the mining level, right? Most of the times you don't know what's happening in the market until the price hits the market. And so now we're able to, AI is going to the level where it can pick up on these granular signals at levels of production, manufacturing, creativity, that you can then say, ooh, shift is happening. It's going to take about 8 months before it hits the market. Just like when the Federal Reserve's make an interest rate change, they usually say, well, it's going to take 6 to 9 months to figure out, whether or not that change was a good thing, a bad thing, whether or not it fixed the problem. And so we're able to get these early signals to say, okay, we got 6 months to position. We got time to make some shifts now so that we hedge, right? So we're appropriately hedged. That's what Southwest, that was the most amazing thing Southwest did, buying fuel, right? Gas prices, and they were laughed at. They were like, well, we don't know why they're doing that.
And then bags flew free.
Woo, right? And a bag flew free, and you can sit wherever you want, and they still gave out free snacks. Right? But that was massive, like their intelligence at that time. But that wasn't it, that was like, I don't know, the McKinseys and the Centuries of the world, right? They went to the big boys to say, yeah, we need to hedge on fuel.
Right.
And game changer, right there. Now they're a $19 billion company.
Right.
All because of early signals. They didn't make a better plane. Right, and they flew shorter routes. They were more regional, right? Right. They didn't follow American Airlines or British Airways. That's similar thing that Virgin Airlines did with British Airways. Let's go smaller routes. Let's, so it's like they didn't do anything revolutionary. They just they hedged fuel. Hedging fuel. But someone was smart enough to know that fuel is an important part. Fuel's an important part. We are going to buy fuel, yes?
We're going to buy fuel, just like mattresses. We're going to buy fuel.
Right. No matter who.
Are we going to buy fuel at $2 or $4? Right. And who do we go get it from? That's all. So does
that answer your question? Did that give some clarity?
It's brilliant. I want to, as for some of the people out there, are professional speakers that kind of will listen to this. Talk about maybe just in a minute, how this might work, and that someone might use this intel for their professional speaker business. How I think like what I'm thinking about. There's several things you said here. One is, what would be a major win along the way? Yeah. So when I am with my client, that's a great question. What would be a major win along the way? Because I am now, and I've shifted my language too. I now call myself, or either a speaker bureau agent or whoever the client is I'm going to speak for. I'm your ambassador. I'm your speaker ambassador. I'm going to go and you tell me what needs to be said, and I will go in and say what needs to be done. So I'm going to, all along the way, we're going to be in tandem with this opportunity. So that's one. That's what I was thinking about, major wins along the way. Just asking the executive like that. What are some other things to hedge our fuel?
Yeah. So as a speaker, and one of the challenges I see with speakers is, what are you talking about, and to who? Seriously. Because, let's take leadership. Countless leadership people out there, right? There's the OGs, right? The John Maxwell's of the world. And then there's the new Gs. Well, right? Like everyone's coming up and, speaking about leadership, but about what? If you're the one who's speaking about leadership during mergers and acquisition, ooh, that's a niche. I only speak about leadership during mergers and acquisitions and that hairy transition. Great. right? So now you can become that, use AI, use all the intelligence and research you can to know everything you can about mergers and acquisition, the process, the pre-merger acquisition, what happens during the transition period, what happens when the founders who agreed to be there for 3 years, they want out year 2, like all become that person, have those conversations with M&A, attorneys and venture capitalists. And so we're heading into a time where, and I love it, where we are all becoming hyper specialists. If you want to do this well, if you want to be a generalist, knock yourself out. You're going to be in a highly competitive space. All the best. Yes. And I'll just leave it at that. All the best, honey. All the best. Right? Like, you're going to see me. I feel like I should have a photo that has the "I told you so" look. With like a glass of wine. I told you so. like DiCaprio did in Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
But seriously, this is amazing because you don't have to know. Like I said, there's signals that go by my ears all the time.
Yeah.
Flow. Okay, that's good to know, right? But I don't need to retain that. And so as a speaker, become hyper clear. It's not about, I only serve tech companies or only serve healthcare companies, or, you can go down that road too. You could be as hyper niche as you want to, as long as you're profitable, you love what you're doing. So you don't have to necessarily follow, the crowd anymore, but you do need to start showing up. I get it. Like, you want to show us, the latest restaurant you're eating at and the glass of wine you're having, and great. That's lovely. But on LinkedIn, like, your CEOs are going there for information, for intel. They have problems, very specific, sharp, painful, and even destructive problems that if they do not get solved, it's, if they're the owner of the company, man, who do I have to let go, right? If they're a CEO that reports to a board, man, when are they going to let me go, right? Like, these are high stakes, and it's not to be taken lightly. This is lives that are at stake. Right. These are families that are at stake. These are communities. And so when, as a speaker, become super specific, spend the time, slow down. It's, I believe there's a book that says, slow down to speed up. I forgot. Daniel Kahneman, he has a book around that, slowing down to speed up. And it is true. And slowing down is actually about thinking, making your brain sweat and saying, what am I speaking about? What do I know? What else do I need to know? And the most important person you should be listening to is your market, not what your peers are doing, not the generalized news. What is important? And that's where you use AI. And, I was just talking with a client, and I said, look, the AI you should be concerned about is the AI you don't know about. I said, chat, everybody knows about. I said, it's the private ones that are being made by companies and governments and nations and organizations. The ones you don't know about that have no filter, that is being built with being built on game theory, win at all cost, win at any cost. I said, it's that level of AI that you need to be looking for, studying, learning, having it give you intelligence, and then you show up with that intelligence. And guess what? You sell that intelligence. Because what's interesting with AI is, I was having a conversation with a friend. They're like, oh yeah, AI is making everything cheaper. I said, the only thing that AI is making cheaper is the free stuff that was already free to cheap. But right. Premium intel, like, you think CIA MI6, MI6 level, that intel has gone through the roof. Like, you are now spending premium multi-million-dollar, $billion on this edge information, living on the edge of now. That's a premium price. You're not getting that for free. You're not getting that cheap. Yeah. And so I look at it as, where are you positioning yourself, in the general market or in the precision? I need to be on the cutting edge of this. So yeah, I'm probably going to have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to get the intelligence to then stay ahead of the market. And that's for companies, right? But for smaller speakers, you can still get intelligence. Just know that you're going to have to pay for it. The good one, right? The good intelligence is not cheap anymore. It is, the price is skyrocketing. So being in the intelligence business is one of the coolest things ever.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So you have all of this, and you're helping so many people. What excites you? What excites you? Who are you following? Who lights you up as far as, man, that's it. I'm going that way. I see that way coming a long way out.
Oh, who am I following? One of my favorite podcasts is the Investors Podcast, TIP. And their headline, well, I love their headline. We study billionaires. So if you ask who am I following, who am I paying attention to? I'm paying attention to the billionaires because they have a lot to lose if they don't get this, if they are not catching that wave as well. Right. And so I'm a fan of listening and understanding how they're thinking strategically, because it is a trickle down effect. And I was just talking with a friend and I said, I don't think we have ever seen in our lifetime billionaires and multi-trillion-dollar companies publicly fighting each other at this level.
Wow.
And it is, I'm like, we've never seen them fight publicly like this. And they are all grabbing for their market share. I mean, I just read an article. The New York Times just signed an AI deal with Amazon to use their content. That's a power play, y'all. That's a major, that's huge. And then now if you're not at New York Times level, everybody below, what's your game plan now? What are you doing? Are you going to be like, no, we're going to continue to sue you? No, they're in a licensing deal. Okay, we'll give you our info. Just pay us. Oh, it's about the money. It's oh, shocking. Yeah, it's always about the money. Start there. I believe in tracking the dollars. Track every penny and you will get the full story. And so as individuals, just recognize this war that's going on with the tech titans. We're in the aftermath of that. So and you don't have any control. Nobody's asking you. You're not being invited to the conversation. And so knowing that, I call it instant disruption. If they do something, it can instantly disrupt your world. So how am I positioning? Who am I serving? So that way, when the instant disruption comes, I'm really only focused on my micro niche. And maybe my micro niche is off, is off to the side, and we're not in the direct war path, right? We're not in the direct damage path of that. But we may also be in a path where, we can leverage that. Oh, that's good. The tech titans opened up a door for us that we can utilize. And so I don't look at it as all negative, but it is strategic. And if there was never a time to pay attention to what the big boys are doing, pay attention now. And also pay attention to human behavior. I'm also like, at the end of the day, if you're in the consumer market, retail market, that's a different game than if you're in the consulting, speaking, leadership, changing someone's emotional, mindset and emotions. That's a different game. You're not selling avocado oil avocado ab oil and and blush. You are selling something a lot bigger. So you can't do the funnel game. You have to pay attention to what is happening and not so much what the latest software update is. Look, there's always going to be open AI updates. I'm not paying attention to the updates. I'm paying attention to the strategic partnerships, the strategic moves that will carry out for 3, 5, 10 years. That's what's more important than, hey, I made my action figure. Okay. That's lovely. And now what? I mean, hey, right? Are you going to print it out, have a 3D printer, make it and send it to your clients? Okay, that could be something.
Yeah. You said when you said that everybody is the billionaires, how they're shifting, right? And I just saw, was it yesterday or maybe it was 2 days ago, that Facebook said, get your stuff, get your videos down, because our stores, that's it. We're only going out 30 days now. Everything else. So pull what you can. Because they just made a major shift. Now, all those people that had all that content, that were those courses and classes that were built on that engine, immediately it's just gone. Done. Got to figure out a different strategy for it. And this is just, as we're doing the show, it just happened. It's going to be a major disruptor for both folks that have built their platforms on other people's real estate. Yeah.
Right.
That is, whew, I can't even imagine.
And on one end, it's been spoken about for so long. hey, you're renting, you're not even renting or leasing, you're squatting because you're not really paying anything. We've all been squatters on social media and getting paid very well. Don't get me wrong. Right. And so I was just talking with another friend. I said, we all have some level of social media Stockholm syndrome where we are just bound to our captors and they're going to take care of me. And it's like, no, honey, you've been held hostage. And at one point you were being fed very well. You'd make a post, 110 people, 110% would see it. Now you're lucky if 2% see it and you still think your post is being seen.
Right. Yeah.
Isn't that Stockholm syndrome? Like, no, that's not reality.
Not reality.
Not reality, but instant disruption. That's one of the phrases I use is today's freemium. Today's free is tomorrow's paywall. And so it's not just because guess what? Facebook is tired of paying all the storage fees.
Right.
Right. And has anybody noticed how expensive Zoom storage is? So you got to download and put it into Google, your Google Drive. And so the storage of all this information cost is going up, not down.
Right.
So knowing that, with the saying that today's free is tomorrow's paywall, there's a lot of that's not being spoken about, but there's a lot of free features that we've been used to in all our different applications that all of a sudden that's a premium now. And you don't know and you got 10 days, you got 30 days. Right. We're increasing prices. It's like, oh, and if your business became dependent upon it, you built years, especially the people on Facebook, and Insta, you built years, decades.
Right.
You gonna really spend a weekend downloading all that?
Right.
Now I'm sure somebody is creating the software right now that, hey, for X amount, a couple hundred,
right,
sync will download for you. So there's a pop-up service that didn't exist yesterday.
Right. Right.
That can now exist today. And so I think that's the other thing we're going to see. We're going to see a lot more instant product and services that serve for a specific time and period and then gone. Right. And so so there's opportunity everywhere, but just recognizing we all have to be strategic about the platforms that we're on. How are we building? How are we owning our audience? This is one of the things I talk about, with inbox income. I said, with email, you're pretty much the algorithm of your subscriber list. You are the algorithm. Now, yes, Google and Yahoo and the engines, they play a role in whether you end up in spam, newsletters, promotions. Yes, they play a role, but ultimately you decide how often you show up. You decide messaging. And when you send that email, pretty much 100% of the people get it. Now, whether or not they open it, whether or not they know that they got it, that's a different story. But still, you're the algorithm of your inbox.
Yeah.
Why aren't you controlling that?
Wow.
Just saying. And especially as speakers who I know are using Talkadot, you collected all those emails. What for? What are you doing to move people forward? How are you helping your people?
I got it.
We'll talk later.
Yeah, that's so good. So talk a little bit more about the inbox income, for your on your business side. And then I have one more question for you on crossroads and commitment. So I want you to just share a little bit more about your inbox income and what you're doing now.
Yes. So, one of the things with going back to what I said, you are the algorithm of your emails, right? So, yeah, especially as speakers and consultants, you're collecting all these emails. Recognize that, part of your end game is the income. It's not just sales and revenue. And so and to me, that just keeps it top of mind. It's, recognizing that in order to make an impact, right, and an impact on someone's life, on their business, and you need income because that fuels you. And then that fuels you to create more impact. And so it's this lovely virtuous cycle. And so I like to focus on, once again, what's the destination? It is income. It's not just sales and revenue, because there's plenty of companies that went bankrupt. They had billions of dollars in sales and revenues, but not enough P&L, right? Not enough profit. And the losses were huge. So I look at it as always keeping my eye on what the bigger picture is. And it is about impact and income. It's about both. It's, not either or. And recognizing that, what I love about emails is they're letters, right? Electronic mail.
Yes.
It's a letter that just happens to show up electronically instead of handwritten, which, interesting enough, direct mail has made a massive comeback, but that's another story. But when I one of the things I recognize is with emails, I look at your inbox, or, I encourage you to look at your inbox. That's the new boardroom. It's where trust is built. It's where deals are made. It's where you go looking to see if your invoice was paid. Like, let's be real, right? It's where competition is quiet. There's no competition in the inbox, right? Like, you're not fighting against ads. I mean, you may be fighting against spam, but Google and the engines have done a good job of keeping spam out of our main inbox. But I'm like, your inbox is the new boardroom. It's the new advisory think tank circle. And it's you having a one-on-one conversation with leaders and executives. And so how you show up, it can't just be, here's the latest news. They get news everywhere. Nobody needs more news. It's not about news. It's about how can you help me think deeper about what's going on, but then you have to be clear about what you do, who you serve, what solutions you bring to the table that are super precise. And so I work with owners to say, let's maximize that email list, because you already have potential clients sitting on that list that just needs to hear from you in a very specific way to say, hey, can we, and it usually is short emails. It's like 10 words or less. Yeah, let's do this. Right. Can we get on a call? Hey, are you available? Right. It's not some long drawn out funnel. Like,
Right.
Funnels don't build trust. Funnels are great for low touch products. But when you're talking about companies, right, CEOs and leaders leading multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar, trillion-dollar companies, right, it's about trust. And that trust is going to be first earned. I look at trust as it's earned and it's built. There may be some level of instant earning. I heard you speak. I've been listening to you. I've been reading to you. That's a little bit of instant earning, but then there's the building. And I look at it as whenever I'm working with an executive, I'm thinking very much like a hotel, sky high trust, right? Like, let's build some skyscraper level trust. And that doesn't happen overnight, right? Even a solid skyscraper can take anywhere from 5 to 10 years to be built well. And so when you recognize that every email you send to your list, you're either building sky high trust or you're the street taco cart. That's just, hey, here's your street taco for the day. Okay. But I'm trying to build an empire building here. I don't know what street taco is going to do for me. It's like, thanks for the memes, but let's go deeper. And that's refreshing. It's so refreshing. So does that answer your question?
Absolutely. It does. And, I've been really trying to focus on those individuals, because it's been those individuals who've said that they wanted relationship.
Yeah.
And so that, it's, and every time, like you said, the earned trust, that is a little bit of earned trust you have on the stage, that works, right? That's the initial piece. Before that, though, I'm also, and one of my strategies is to make relationship, and I do like a bomb video, and I'll send it out to the executive team. And to usually somebody on the board of directors, usually the board chair, maybe one or two other people. And I'll ask some very targeted questions to them. But I'm also saying that I'm coming to their event. And I would love to just, are you going to be there? Can we, so we could get that one-on-one relationship now, which now I know you, we've been out, I'm listening to you. I say some of your words on stage. And now I have a higher level. And that's what I'm finding has been really bringing more clients my way, because they all talk right, in their circles. And so we're trying to, Dr. Nito Cobain always says this, if you want to elevate, you got to elevate the people that you're around so that they talk about you and their circle. And it keeps on going. So this was very enriched conversation. I'm going to ask you afterward how people can get a hold of you so that they can get into your inbox income and get into your coursework. But the last question I have for you is, can you share a moment when you had to choose between comfort and commitment to get to the next level?
Ooh, comfort and commitment. Yeah, so this goes back to no, I can think of two levels. Early in my hospitality career, I think I was mid-career, and I was at a point I could open a hotel in my sleep, multiple hotels in my sleep. And I found myself in just autopilot mode. Don't know how I got there, but I was in autopilot. And what was crazy was my autopilot looked amazing on the outside, right? To like, oh, you're just always, you're always just moving and traveling and getting things open, and getting these hotels open. But I knew I was an autopilot, and I lost the passion because it's like, all right, same old. We're coming through here again. Got the contractor, got the interior designer, got the owners, like all the people. And I remember I was speaking to the CEO that I was working with at the time. And I said, well, what else do you have to teach me? And he said, I've taught you everything I know. And I remember I was like, wait, what do you mean you've taught me everything? Like, I still got, 60 years, 40 years of a career ahead of me. Like, we need more intel. But he was right. He said, I've taught you everything I know. He said, so I'll still give you the best projects, but whenever you feel that there's something you want to go do that's at that next level, go for it. You have my blessings. And that was important to me because we had a great relationship. Little did I know, 3 months after that conversation, he'd pass away from cancer. Like,
oh, wow.
Rough, just devastating cancer. And I never forget that moment. We were in Miami Beach looking, just looking at the ocean and hearing that. And so it was pretty much almost like a month before he passed, an opportunity came along. And I could have either stayed in autopilot mode, or I could have taken this opportunity that would stretch me, and it literally stretched me like Laffy Taffy level stretching. Stretched me to a whole nother level.
Elastigirl.
Man, I was Elastigirl. Wrapped around the world 3 times. And it was scary because it was so intense where I accepted, and before it was 2 weeks before he passed, I asked, I let his sister was taking over the business, and I said, can you just let him know I'm going to take this opportunity? I'd love his blessings, because that relationship, the relationship was everything. And so it wasn't just, oh, where's the next 6-figure deal? Like, a position I can take. No, it was a relationship. He said, yes. He's like, go for it. Past Christmas morning, I got the Christmas Eve, I got the acceptance letter. Just January 17th, I'm now full-time in Miami, packed up everything. It was like 4 weeks of go, go, go. I'm now living in a new state, no family, taking on this big project. Great friend and leader just passed away, and whoosh, ride the wave. Like, I think I didn't fully process that until about 3-4 years later. I was like having a moment. I actually cried. I was like, what's this about? Oh, I didn't even really have a chance to grieve. I didn't have a chance to grieve, but that was life. And it was, so what it also taught me was I had life and death happening at the same time, right? Like literal, like this new life of me now going to the next level. And at the same time, someone I deeply cared about was literally passing away at the same time. And yet I didn't crumble. I didn't just say, okay, I'm just going to stuff it. I was able to be with it. Even though, like I said, the full grieving didn't happen until years later, but I was able to be with it because I knew my impact was going to be larger and impact more people. And so I felt that life had set up, was literally closing the door on, Sonia, you can't be in autopilot zone anymore. And so sometimes these shifts come and they're not pretty, they're not nice, they're not easy, and none of it was about the money. It really wasn't at that point. It was about the relationships and the people who were offering me the new position. I had developed a relationship with the owners. And so it was the owners calling me. It wasn't HR calling me. It was the owners saying, hey, come help us, right? Come help us. And so I say that to leaders to know that, and John, I think you're very familiar with that, is that you can be in a space where it is, who said it? The author that said it was the best of times, it was the worst of times.
That's from the Steinbeck, is that right?
Something like that. Yeah.
I can't remember. I got it wrong.
You're good, but we're familiar with the quote. But I'm like, have you ever been in a situation like that? It's the best of times and the worst of times at the same time. And so that also is the forging of a leader.
Dickens.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. Dickens. There you go. Love you, chat. Thank you, chat.
Thank you, chat.
Yeah, Dickens. And so just recognizing that in this world of instant disruption, there is incredible opportunity, but also incredible damage, right? And destruction, because it is what it is. And when something gets destroyed, or deconstructed, it can be reconstructed, but it's never the same. No. It never looks the same. It's never the same environment. And so I had to learn how to be okay with that dichotomy. It's like, why can't it just all be happy and upbeat and lovely? And it's like, no. And that's a part of what makes you resilient. And then your team can follow that. And and I didn't, go to this new position with, everyone just saw me as a happy person. Oh, and she's just always moving and going. They had no idea what I was carrying on the inside. But then again, that was a very personal thing. And it was more important to say, okay, how do I not squash it, but how do I breathe through it, right? And still maintain my energy, my passion. And my passion did return. I did enjoy it until I didn't. I did until I didn't. But to me, I look at it as, what's the next level of impact I meant to make? And that's usually what life starts to signal me that, okay, you've made the impact you were supposed to make. And sometimes that only lasts a year. Other times that lasts multiple years. And it never shows up on any kind of schedule that I put together. It never shows up on my schedule. But it makes life actually fun, because it opens doors and opportunities and conversations you wouldn't have otherwise had.
That brings us full circle, because we talk about amputate to elevate. Amputations hurt.
Yeah.
And amputations are the death of something. And you have to release it, let it go, in order to rise to the next level for what is coming. They're happening at the same time. As soon as you make the commitment, you can't go back. You've made the commitment, and there's some grief that's involved in that process. And maybe you're off and running, but you're no longer the experts. You got to figure it all out again, so that you have a little more excitement to grow into that breath, because our Creator is breathed into us, and so it's our responsibility to breathe that breath into others. It has been a delight talking to you today. How do people find you?
Best place to find me is on LinkedIn, or go to soniadumas.com, but LinkedIn for sure. DM me, say hello. I am active. That's my place. Don't ask me what happens on Facebook. I wouldn't know. I'm not a part of that. All right, but here's
she gotta do save her 30 days to get her.
But also consider, though, that what one does, the others follow. So start thinking about your other platforms. Ooh, when will LinkedIn probably do something similar?
Right. That's right. So just start thinking about y'all. See, that's why she's seen the waves out there. We got this good little sister. Well, thank you for gracing us with your presence today. I really do appreciate you. And stay on. We'll talk just after we close the show out.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, everybody. And we're going to close out right now.
Wow, what a powerful conversation with Sonia Dumas. Did you feel that? I want to thank Sonia for bringing her brilliance and her boldness and her blueprint for strategic elevation into the room today. From amputating old business models to embracing a future-forward mindset, she reminded us that transformation doesn't start with tools, it starts with truth. And if you found this session valuable in today's episode, here's your next move. Like the episode, share it with your leadership circle, and follow the show so you never miss a moment of inspiration. Then, go deeper. Sign up for your Elevate Life Executive Strategy session on Beehive. That's where the real transformation begins. Whether you're in the middle of a leadership pivot or preparing for one, you don't have to navigate it alone. That's why I'm here. I'm John Register, your guide on this journey from amputation to elevation. Until next time, go forth, inspire your world. Bye for now.